rugby giveth and rugby taketh away. This is the unfortunate reality for one of Springbok Rugby's greatest servants. In a career spanning across 14 years, leading to unprecedented success, the Spicy Plum, as they call him, has trailblazed a legacy few can match. Yet despite all the accolades, the cruel nature of the brutal physicality which comes with the game of rugby has led to Steven Kitshoff having to hang up his boots at the tender age of 33. With fans usually favouring backline players and back rowers, it's very seldom that prop forwards get the credit they so clearly deserve. Given his recent decision to retire from the game due to a very serious neck injury, please join us as we give tribute to Steven Kitshoff, one of the greatest props of all time. But before we do that, we ask that you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave your thoughts down below. With your support, we can keep bringing you the best rugby content on YouTube. In what seems like a never-ending conveyor belt of talent, South African rugby has a knack for producing world-class prop forwards. Our older viewers can point to the legendary figure of Doc Hannes Murray, who anchored the Springbok scrum on 35 occasions during the 60s and 70s. As the professional era rolled in during the 90s, so did arguably the greatest prop of all time, the Man Mountain, Os du Randt. A key figure in the Cinderella story that is South Africa's 1995 World Cup victory, Os returned after a hiatus to be a core member of Jake White's 2007 World Cup winning side, the first ever double World Cup winning Springbok. Following Os du Randt's retirement, fans never imagined there would be another loose head who could come close to his legacy, but their minds would soon be changed. Beast Tawarera announced himself to the world at the 2009 British and Irish Lions tour by scrumming Phil Vickery into oblivion. Beast went on to win 117 test caps, making him the fourth most capped Springbok in history. To add to that accolade is a 2019 World Cup winners medal. In the present day, Springbok Rugby can proudly claim to have the best loose head in the world, and that title comfortably goes to Oxenche. Ox's crowning moment came at the 2023 World Cup semi-final when he was brought on as a substitute when the chips were down. He delivered a scrumming masterclass, winning penalties which led to the Springbok comeback. In and around those great names have been other stars of Springbok Rugby at loosehead prop, but if we were to name them all, this video would be a 3-hour documentary. The name we will mention, however, is the player who came in between the Beast and Ox eras, and that is the great Steven Kitshoff. Kitshoff's journey began fresh out of high school, after building an impressive reputation at the Maroon Machine Paul Roos Gymnasium. Earmarked as being one for the future, the quiet, unassuming Kitshoff joined a Stormers set up filled with world-class talent. At the time, the Stormers had numerous Springboks on their payroll, such as Brian Habana, Jean de Villiers, and Jacques Fourie. A talented group was emerging around the same time as other youngsters were starting to come through with Kitshoff, such as his partner in crime, Frans Malherbe, the most capped Springbok of all time, Eben Etzebeth, and the hope of the nation, Siya Kolisi. Stormers veteran Brock Harris stated that at first they didn't think much of Kitshoff when he walked in, but then they saw this kid in the gym and they knew this wasn't any ordinary player. Kitshoff soon established himself as the starting loosehead prop for the Stormers, and it was only a matter of time before higher honours would come his way. Thanks to his performances, he was selected for the famous 2012 edition of the Baby Boks, a team that went on to win the Under-20 World Cup. It included the likes of a then grade 12 Andre Pollard and a future two-time World Rugby Player of the Year, Pieter-Steph du Toit. Kitshoff was certainly in good company and was determined to make the most of his opportunities. However, those opportunities would be hard to come by. Beast was firmly the incumbent number one in South Africa, and everyone else was fighting for that benching berth. Ignored by then Springbok coach Heineke Meyer, Kitshoff made the bold move to Bordeaux to take up a contract in France. Thanks to South Africa's willingness to select overseas-based players, something the All Blacks could learn from, the door remained open. It would be Kitshoff's former Super Rugby coach, Alistair Coetzee, who gave the Spicy Plum his Bok debut in 2016. His debut season would turn out to be a landmark year for the prop, as he solidified his place in the Springbok squad by making 10 appearances. As is the case for many of the players who have thrived under the Rassie era, they first experienced some of the darkest days in Springbok rugby during their early international careers. The Coetzee era was seen as a national tragedy, but things would soon take a turn for the better. Kitshoff was one of the few shining lights during the 2016 and 2017 season. Despite the poor results, he gained much needed experience at international level. A catalyst for the turnaround in South African rugby was the return of arguably the greatest rugby mind of all time, Rassie. Erasmus. One of the first names on his team sheet over the years was the Ginger Ninja, packing down in the scrums. Over the next 2 seasons, Kitshoff and Beast would alternate between the starting role, while the other would come on to make an impact later in the game. At the time, a revolutionary tactic was being built, and this would become known as the Bomb Squad. Having 2 world-class props helped propel the team to the final of the 2019 World Cup, where they came up against a favoured England side. While the accolades went to Cheslin Colby for his incredible try, the victory all began up front. Beast and Malherbe began dominating the English scrum until Kitshoff came on at the start of the second half to finish the job. From a shy boy to a World Cup winner, and with many years left at the top of the game. After the incredible turnaround of Springbok rugby culminating in a 3rd World Cup crown, Beast decided to hang up his boots. This opened the door for what the whole of South Africa had known for a very long time, that Stephen Kitshoff was the next big thing at loosehead prop. With 47 caps to his name at that point, he was already a seasoned veteran. Kitshoff was given the mammoth task of following in the footsteps of all those that went before him and anchor the Springbok scrum. He did so in a way that few in world rugby could compete with, destroying opposition tight head props in the scrum and causing havoc in open field play. Between the World Cup periods, Kitshoff and co continued their dominance over the world, winning a coveted British and Irish Lions series. Having returned to the Stormers a few years earlier from his brief spell in France, Kitshoff found himself captaining the side in the 2022 season. This was an incredibly important year for domestic rugby in South Africa, as the move had been made from Super Rugby to now form part of a new United Rugby Championship with teams from the Northern Hemisphere. Not only did Kitshoff's star shine bright for the Stormers during the campaign, but he led them all the way to the final and landed up proudly lifting the trophy in front of a passionate Cape Town crowd. No one would have expected him to have risen to the ranks of captain, and here he was doing the unthinkable. But still, there was more to come. Having won just about everything there was to win, he set his sights on making history and being part of the first Springbok side to go back-to-back. The quality of opposition did not make it easy, but Kitshoff and his side rallied together to dig deep time and time again. They found themselves facing off against the old foe in the final, and once again proved that they were a team like no other. This time, Kitshoff started in the World Cup final, and once again helped South Africa to another crown. A double World Cup winner. Who would have thought? Unfortunately for Stephen and the whole of South Africa, this World Cup final would prove to be his last appearance in the green and gold. A terrible neck injury would see him sidelined for the foreseeable future, until the decision was taken based on medical advice to undergo a neck fusion surgery. The injury he had suffered was near fatal, and as a result, he decided in February of this year to call it a day. Stephen Kitshoff has a trophy cabinet like no other, which includes a Currie Cup, an Under-20 World Cup, a Rugby Championship, a URC title, a British and Irish Lions series, and of course, 2 Rugby World Cups. He has paved the way for future generations, revolutionizing the loosehead role at times with his open field play, skill set, and defensive qualities. At the end of the day, Stephen Kitshoff can be proud to know that he left the Springbok #1 jersey in a better place than when he found it in 2016. An incredible player and an even better man. Kitshoff's humble personality and positive attitude has been a focal point of all the dressing rooms he has been a part of. A player that's certainly gained the respect of his friends and foes alike. He leaves the game having won 83 caps for the Boks and passes on the mantle to the very capable Oxen Che. South African rugby will certainly miss seeing that flash of red hair doing the hard yards on the field. What more can be said about a man who truly did it all? Never did we think anyone would come close to the legacies of the loosehead props before him, but here we are speaking about Stephen as one of the greatest props of all time. Where would you rank him in that conversation? Although you may no longer see him taking to the field, you can still find his infectious smile on rugby talk shows and fan interviews around Cape Town Stadium. A Springbok legend through and through. So what are your thoughts on the recently retired prop? You've heard what we have to say, now it's your turn to do the same. As always, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and show your support in the comments. Until next time, thanks for watching.